Like any other love story, it doesn't always start in a smooth sailing road. Not a lot will be happy as you are for yourself, whether you're Romeo's Juliet or Jay-Z's Beyonce, or in this instance, Martha's Edward. Not a lot were happy to see this photo. Coming from Soweto, White City and Diepkloof, it was just in 1998 when two lovebirds first laid eyes on each other, not knowing a year later would come with a bun in the oven, a newborn that is. Edward was the guy on the streets, a character, dubbed as the hustler because he had to hustle his way in life, and what he wanted, he fetched for himself, created chances for himself. Martha on her side, a sweet young lady, beautiful young lady from White City, Soweto. Many were concerned for her, judging off Edward's love history. Once she saw him, she was gone. She was in love. Edward had his ways. And just like in the Bible, it all started when a beautiful woman took a bite of a forbidden fruit. It was a dream come true, at least until she delivered the baby. How beautiful it started contradicts heavily how dark it ended. It is believed both partners' intentions were similar: love, family, wedding, honeymoons, future together. But the way Edward moved in his life made these goals questionable. With so much to lose, Edward was already deeply affiliated with gangsters. This is a man who casually carries a 9mm automatic pistol just to protect himself. And now, unfortunately, who needs more protection? Martha with the unborn baby, Sibusiso. Both partners were already parents of two, respectively. They both had high hopes of a peaceful and a better life. Regardless of a poor or rather broke background coming from Soweto, Edward is just a man who, as himself, wishes to live a normal dream life. As it seems, the dream was much closer now because the girl of his dreams was right before his eyes. Psychologist and social worker of a private institution discusses this in detail.
Edward comes from a poor background, so which led him to being into hustling and being in the streets and trying to make ends meet. But also he was introduced into lack of discipline as well as crime, and as well as mistreating women. So now he'd have to be a Casanova and just sleep with anyone and anyone he sees, which now led it being bad for Martha because now he cheating on Martha and she's pregnant. So it's just his background determined his behavior.
Edward's ill-disciplined ways never made anything better. It keeps getting worse. No matter how beautiful of a love story this was, but a lot of people were able to see from afar how disastrous this fusion would become in the future. Not only Martha herself, Edward himself, Edward's family, Martha's family, their friends and the community were all concerned for the unborn baby. Whether the unborn baby will ever get to see his father alive, or maybe the baby might be the blessing from a curse.
And hustling also involves some crimes and no respect and no discipline, which also taught him to be a cheater and mistreat women. And it then became a danger for Martha because now he was in a gang and there's always gang fights, gang wars and street fights. So that thing now put a toll on Martha and the baby, causing her to have early labor as well as complications with the pregnancy. So this whole issue of the poor background and being in the crime is literally putting a toll on Martha and the baby, which puts the baby at higher risk as well. So with now Edward also being in part of gangs and everything, he ended up being dead, shot dead while he was walking, and then by other different gangs, which led Martha into depression and early labor. And then it also turned out that Martha then had to leave the baby and pass away while the baby was actually 3 months.
That's my father's surname. I'm an offspring of Martha and Edward, and basically that's how anyone would best describe my story of how I got here. I'm basically just a product of crime and depression. For a lot of people, of course, it would come out as like a bad result where you have a kid that's in drugs or alcohol or just imbalanced insecurities. But I think I turned out pretty well for myself. Well, obviously it took like a lot of work because I had to be raised by different aunts and uncles. But then sometimes, I have to pay the dues of my father, or I have to pay for the sins of my father. And that's just how life works usually. And yeah, I'm basically just as Sibusiso, I'm a blessing in disguise.